Hey, as we're still recovering from a victory. We celebrated so much ourselves by eating a bunch of candy and stuff and crap in the studio that we had to take a day at home on this Monday, folks. So bear with us. We'll be back in the studio at some point this week. It's a busy week for the Sixers, so we'll be around, of course, right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And we are, as always, presented by our great friends from Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you do sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Along with Derek Bodner and Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens. Bree is out again on a Monday. Tyler Zulli sitting in with us, all of you in the chat. Great to be with you as we get to talk about the Sixers following the last time we were together, guys. It was a win. And we haven't done that in a while, especially with a few days off. You get a win. We said the Birds might get a win following the Eagles, and they did just that as Kyle is representing on a victory Monday with the sweatshirt, looking good in the Kelly green. Hey,
I'm representing two winning teams right now. We got Liverpool on the hat.
This morning,
the Eagles.
Right? Okay.
Two big W's for two teams that I follow this weekend. So as we always say, it's all about us and nobody else on this show. So pat on the back to me for, supporting my hardest and getting the job done.
Well, it is, in fact, a victory Monday, not only for the Birds and Liverpool. You also get the Philadelphia 76ers. And Derek, with it, I mean, just starting it off, we need to talk about some rotations. We have to talk about Andre Drummond and where is he? What does he look like after that ankle injury that caused him to leave in the first quarter and not returning for the game against the Pistons on Saturday night, but also Jared McCain as we begin a little bit with him and the shooting. 2 for 21 over the last 3 games from beyond. He had his 10-game streak of double-digit scoring snapped on Saturday. He was out there, he was playing, but the shot still wasn't falling. And as we begin with the rotations and where does Drummond fall into it, Kelly Oubre got the start, and we discussed it at length, not only in-game, but post-game as well. Pre-game, watch along, post-game of how Jared McCain did not get the start, what things might look like. We still don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, but it's certainly a little bit of, hey, has this guy hit a little bit of a rookie wall after shouldering a lot of the work for the Sixers throughout the month of November?
Yeah, I guess real quick, just because you brought up Drummond. Drummond, he has a right ankle sprain. He'll miss the next 3 games at least. They announced that he will miss the next 3 games. He'll be reevaluated over the weekend. So they will be without another center through this next couple of games at the very least. That will be something honestly, that'll be tough to overcome. And we will see whether or not Nick continues to go to Bona outside of, obviously, you're going to see a lot of Yabusele. As a small ball 5, will he continue with Bona? He almost has really no chance. Might see some KJ at the 5. I'm sure we'll get that in a bit. But in terms of McCain, I don't think this is a rookie wall in the traditional sense. Like, I don't think he is tired or playing more minutes or more games than he is used to, which is usually what we associate with the rookie wall. I think he just hit a stretch where his shot wasn't going in. And when his shot wasn't going in, I think he just became a little bit too passive. And certainly, he has some playmaking chops with so many other point guards, Lowry, Reggie Jackson out. You do want him to look to get others involved, but you don't want that to come at the expense of him searching for his own shot, because he is one of the more talented scorers on this team. So I think it's just really this bad combination of, him second guessing himself because he's going through a slump, him second guessing himself because, he is trying to get others involved and maybe amp up. I'm so used to saying ramp that I'm even saying it where it doesn't apply. Amp up his point guard play and his willingness and concerted effort to try to get others involved. And I think it's probably just those two playing off of each other. I do think he should, and we said this on the other show, I do think he should continue to start. I want to see that both because I think he has earned that spot on merit, and because I think he fits well next to Maxey and Paul George offensively very well, and because I think that's a trio you want to grow. But I think Nick, certainly based on the previous game, might look at it a little bit differently. But yeah, no, I think it's just a combination, like I said, of the shot not going in, him second guessing himself because of that, him second guessing himself because he's trying to get others involved. Maybe a little bit like I thought Tyrese, and I give Tyrese a lot of credit because I think he came out in the second half and had a real good, effort in terms of trying to get others involved. I thought in the first half he came out and he was a little a little of a black hole, if we're being honest, and was looking for a shot. Maybe I don't want to say too much, but he had a little bit of tunnel vision at times in the first half, and that didn't necessarily help Jared McCain. Not that it's necessarily Tyrese's job to help Jared McCain, but I think that compounded some of the other problems. But I think he'll be fine. I don't think this is, like I said, I don't think this is a case of like the competition being too much for him or catching up to him or the league scouting him. I don't think it's a case of his legs not being there. I think he's just hitting a slump, and we'll see how he now works himself out of it.
Well, so perfect segue you gave me there, Derek, where I think Nick talked after the game on Saturday about the change to the lineup and, what Jared is kind of going through right now. And he said that, right now he's making, I don't want to say he's making a transition to being a point guard, but I forget the exact wording. He's being asked to be more of a point guard and someone who manages the offense right now based on who's available in the lineup and, what they want to do with the rotation. And when you're out there as kind of the lone guard with playmaking skills, right, it can go one of two ways. In Maxi's case, I think a lot of times he just says, well, I'm just going to hunt my shot, right? And that's kind of his skill set. He goes out, he's taking a lot of pull-up jumpers, a lot of those. Some shots we don't like, some shots we do like around the rim, I've criticized him at times for what the shot diet looks like, but that's Tyrese Maxey's way of attacking that problem. It's like, okay, if I'm the lead guy, the lone guy in the backcourt with some off the dribble juice, I'm just going to attack. I'm getting into downhill mode, into pull-up jumper mode. And so far, what we've seen from Jared is he's not going to play that way. And some of that could be the instruction he's getting from the coaching staff, but a lot of what we saw in the Detroit game, he had no shots at halftime, right? I don't think his first attempt came till late in the third quarter. And what we saw was more of that, get him into their sets. And I don't think he was gun shy necessarily. I think he made a lot of good reads from the middle of the floor, draw in pressure and attention, find the open shooter, and keep the ball moving. But he's struggling on the other end of it, right? Where he's hyper-focusing so much on the passing role, the playmaking role that you need to play there, that he wasn't hunting his own shot as much. So I think some of that goes back to why we probably all want to see Jared and Tyrese together, right? Because if you put those two on the floor together, you don't have to necessarily go in there as Jared McCain or Tyrese Maxey and say, I got to do everything, right? Or I got to lock in on this specific thing. You can balance those responsibilities a little easier because you have a guy who's, built in next to you to take that responsibility off your plate. You can, as Jared McCain, do the relocation shooting more. They can get you off the ball, have somebody else run the offense, and they weaponize the skills that, they were drawing the comparisons to, that's how Steph Curry moves. And same thing for Tyrese Maxey, right? And so that's part of why I think I was a little bit upset, we'll say, about the starting lineup change, because I do think those two need to learn how to play one off of one another on both ends of the floor, but particularly on offense right now. So, yeah, I think a lot of it is just the mental side of learning how to do different things at the NBA level, right? We can look at the body of work early this season and say, as a secondary guard, let's say, I don't want to call him a two guard or a point guard. I think he's got the skills of both. But as a secondary guard, I think he's done an awesome job of attacking when he's got the opening, relocating, keeping the offense moving. But if he's going to be more of that pure point, like, hey, you have to set the table, you have to get us into our sets, into our offense, it's still going to take a little bit of time for him to balance finding others and maybe hunting his own shot a little more. And that's okay, right? Like that's a tough adjustment for a 16th overall pick, 20 games, less than 20 games into his career. And without, for most of this season, the guys who are supposed to be like the true offensive centerpieces of this team. So not really concerned yet, but I think it'll help him as they get healthier and they can spread out his responsibilities a little bit more again.
I do agree with you about not being worried, not worried at all. It was just something, of course, that we haven't seen for an entire month, and is worthy of a discussion. But I will disagree on this part where while he is focused on what Nurse is trying to do with the point guard duties, and he's 20 games into his career, or less than 20 games into his career, and he's still trying to figure out both of those duties while he's been out there on the floor, he is the one, though, that has been out there by his lonesome when the others have not been. And while he has had Kyle Lowry in the past, and then others that have come off the bench, Gordon, Reggie Jackson, to run alongside of him in the backcourt, for the most part, he has had to shoulder the load for a lot of those things. So when you bring up the gun-shy part, not the entire game, but I thought he was on a few possessions. Now, yeah, it clicked in his head of, hey, I also have to run the point here. I have to get these guys some shots. But when the ball swung back to him a few times, we have seen him ready, locked and loaded, ready to fire the shot off. And a few times in the game, which ultimately wasn't a problem because the way the game was going and how they turned it around in the second half and the way that they did to eventually blow out the Pistons, we've seen him get those shots off. And at the moment, at the time, didn't know if that was because, oh man, I've been missing my shots these last couple of games and I haven't gotten any shots in this particular game, that the handle wasn't right. The seams didn't feel as good as they have for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And you just don't have that perfect feel of the basketball, that he didn't let it fly the way that we have seen it. And we saw him run off a couple of screens and we're like, oh, he's about to let that one go. Or at least, man, 2 weeks ago, we would have saw that one. He's firing that one up immediately. So just a few, and it's not enough for me to worry, but it was just something that I did feel like I saw in that game against the Pistons, where he hesitated a bit, and you hesitate for a second, and now the feel is wrong, the shot is wrong, and even when you do let it fly, everything, the mechanics are fine, but everything within the flow of the shot, the catch and go, is no longer the same, and that can mess you up in that moment, and it might even mess you up the next time down the floor, where we also didn't see him make a couple of the mid-range jump shots that we're accustomed to seeing as well, not going to the basket and finishing the same way that we saw over that stretch as well. So just a few times I thought I saw it, and with Nurse explaining things a little bit better at post-game, with explaining what he wanted from Jared McCain, especially with that second unit, and now George and Maxey being out there and him not getting a lot of run next to Tyrese Maxey, that did stand out for me in the moment. I hope we don't see it at all if this shooting continues the way that it is, at least behind the three-point line. That I hope it doesn't discourage him from continuing to shoot, because as we talk about, cliche thing, shoot, and he is a shooter, and he will find it once again. We talked about how much he missed in summer league, but we never got beside ourselves in saying that now I'm worried about this kid. Number one, because it was summer league, and number two, we hadn't seen him in the NBA game yet. And when he wasn't making the shots in the 4 games in October, also the same way we felt. And then we started to see him get it going. So I don't suspect it to be a problem. I don't think it's a problem at all. A wall is not there quite yet. He just had a stretch where we haven't seen him make missed shots as much as he is now. And again, 2 for 21, that can get into your head when you're taking shots and you're 12 for 21 and now you're 2 for 21. That can pull you aside a little bit and make you rethink certain things that you're doing out there. But that kid seems to be strong-minded, works hard. That's not anything that I'm really worried about. And as you mentioned, Kyle, with the point guard duties, I think he's just going to continue to pick that up while his shot also returns, and all of it will start to fall into place. And I hope that will also have Nick Nurse bring him back into the starting lineup instead of bringing him off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I still think that we sometimes forget how streaky shooters are going to be at times. And you can just go back to the summer league when a lot of the fan base was concerned whether or not he would be an NBA player because he couldn't make shots in 5 summer league games. 5 games is a minuscule amount of time over the grand scheme of things. It's real easy to get into a funk. You can go back into his 5-game stretch here earlier on in November and think he's going to be Steph Curry, and you can look at this 5-game stretch and think he is not an NBA player. Neither of those are likely to be true. I think it's even more unlikely that he's not an NBA player. I'm very confident in that, but you never look at a snapshot of just a couple games and try to paint a picture. It is going to be more, exaggerated when you are a rookie and you're just trying to figure out how to make your imprint on a game when that shot isn't falling. And then you add in the fact that not only is he being the point guard right now, as Kyle said, but in a lot of those lineups without Maxey, he is the only real capable ball handler. It's just a lot to put on his plate, and he's trying to balance a lot. So I think it's just learning when to pick your spots. He's still learning a little bit to find out how to make an imprint on the game when the perimeter shot isn't falling. He showed me enough in terms of his competitiveness, in terms of his decision making, in terms of how collected, calm and collected he is under pressure. He showed me enough in that 10-game stretch where I am not going to over index on the struggles in a couple of games in late November and early December. Just like I said in the summer league, I believe in that shot, both because of what he did in college and the form that he has and the work that he put in. He will find his footing. You would just like to see him find it pretty quickly because, quite frankly, the Sixers have no margin for error. And that taste of winning we got the other night, I don't want to go back to losing.
Yeah, and I think even when we saw him play at Summer League, you could see that the confidence that he has is so firm and built in these habits, right? Not just in the gym, but the mental prep and all the other stuff he does away from the floor, that I just have like 0.0% concern that he's going to stop shooting or get gun shy or look at a shooting slump as like, oh, this defines who I am as a player. Like, I think one of the things that I think sets him apart from a lot of kids his age is that he has pretty great perspective on like what a game means or what a stretch means relative to the body of work, right? Like, it's every night. It's just, you reset. If it's a bad game, you flush it. If it's a good game, you flush it. It really, the last game does not mean anything as it informs, whether you're going to win tonight, whether you're going to make shots tonight. And I think he has had and has shared with us a really, interesting and positive perspective on all of that. So as he tries to navigate his rookie season, there are going to be these ebbs and flows. I mean, look, we're talking about the other night is the first game he's taken less than 7 3-point attempts since November 6th, right? Like, and I know that it's easy to put up a lot of shots when you're cooking, but he had some low volume nights earlier in the year, and he still, when we would talk to him in the locker room, talk to him at the podium, he would say, I'm not worried at all, right? Like, I'm not making shots, but I'm going to come out here and try to impact the game any way I can. The routine stays the same. The prep work stays the same. And so I think in terms of his side of it, I'm not worried. It's more a matter of, based on personnel and based on what they're running, which frankly, a lot of the time are these very basic flip DHO plays and some weaves that they're running. There's just not a whole lot being actively designed for shooters. And so some of the stuff that he's gotten into and a lot of his made shots have just come off of his own instinct and his own basketball intelligence. What I would like to see for him and for Maxey is more of the design stuff to get them open and get them clean catch and shoot looks, which is not to say he hasn't gotten those. He's missed some open shots recently, but I'll keep banging this drum, right? I want to see more designed plays to take advantage of these guys who are as dangerous as it gets as off-ball shooters. Look at that. We have a fourth member of the show today.
I mean,
on
darkness asks, so I delivered.
You might be able to hear Louis in the background is chomping on a bully stick right now. And I will tell you, thank God you can only hear and see me and you can't smell the room right now because, boy, those things are gnarly. I'm glad he enjoys it because I sure don't.
Did he bring a stick home today from the walk?
Yes, he did. There is anyone who follows me on Instagram, you can look me up at Kyle Neubeck. There is not just a post about our Die Hard program, but a post about Louis' stick that he brought home from the park today. So always good times in our neighborhood.
Well, in order for the Sixers to bring home 2 wins from this 2-game road trip, they have to beat the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday night. And that is the front end of a back-to-back. So with the Jared McCain discussion, Andre Drummond out for 3 days, as Derek just shared with everyone. What does Nick Nurse's rotation start to look like without Andre Drummond? We'll talk about that on the other side, where do they go from here as they begin, again, the first of 2 for a back-to-back situation. Hornets on the road, Orlando back at home on Wednesday, and then on Friday as part of a home series against the Orlando Magic. We'll discuss the rotations when we get back right here as the pets are taking over the show. Both Kyle and Derek's pets. We'll discuss it all when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And I have to tell you, as we sat in the studio, saw the Sixers get a win, I was comfortably number one for the pregame, the watch along, most importantly, and the postgame. We did hours sitting in those chairs, watching the game with all of you, and we were greatly appreciated. And I was I was appreciative and thankful for my Skims as I was sitting there in those chairs, my cotton 5-inch inseam boxer briefs that we received from Skimmed, and they felt fantastic. Having to sit there for hours and just watching the basketball game, sitting in the chairs, they are comfortable. But when you sit in one spot, you can get a little distracted, a little uncomfortable, or if you have to get up, run to the restroom, run to get your power cord for your laptop, maybe a drink, some more candy that we always like to have in the studio. I was very comfortable with my Skims, and with the Skims overall. I mean, they're fantastic. They're very soft. They're very comfortable. You start there. They don't rise up. You won't have to worry about too many things like, hey, we just call it for what it is. You don't have to worry about the wedgies or anything that you have. But overall, the Skims are fantastic. They are unnoticeable in a way where, of course, if you're wearing pants, you don't have to worry about people trying to see through your pants or seeing any lines. Overall, they are cut perfectly to fit your body comfortably and look good on you as well. You feel good about yourself. You feel good by doing so by also wearing Skims. They come in great colors. Not only can you get the 5-inch boxer brief, inseam boxer briefs, you can get the stretch 5-inch inseam boxer briefs or the stretch 3-inch inseam boxer briefs as well. I went with the 5-inch inseams just to let everybody know. And if that's more of your liking with the holidays on the way, your loved ones, you feel like they need some new underwear in the drawer, well, you can make sure you go to Skims and get those. Shop Skims men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. And after you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Once again, shop Skims at skims.com.
We also want to make sure we tell you about Ace Hardware. I have been stuck in a little bit of, we'll just call it home work that needs to be done. Won't get into many of the details. It's not been super fun. But if you need any help around the house, Ace Hardware is where you want to go. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They bring experience. Local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding, they listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And they bring helpful to your home, so you can spend more of your time on the projects that matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast, presented by Bet365. The dog, Louie, hanging out with Kyle
looks
right
bigger
there.
than you, Kyle.
Louie, you want to say hi, buddy? Can you say hi to our friends? Look, buddy, you're the star of the show.
We got to get Kyle. You got to get Louis some PHLY gear with the Cyber Monday
you see the
discount
wave
that we have going on. Look at that. And we do have to tell everybody though, as we are here, about our Cyber Monday deal that we have going on at the All City Network and of course here at the PHLY Sports family, where you get a ton of things off, up to 75% off of the entire site. You get 30% off for sure on anything on the site, but up to 75%. And take advantage of also our Die Hard. Kyle mentioned it a little bit earlier, our great Die Hard deal that's running right now. You got 36 for 36. What is that? $36 for 36 hours to sign up for our fantastic Die Hard program. All you have to do is go to allphly.com. And when you see it right there, or you can check us all out on Twitter, you see the link. Again, sign up $36 for 36 hours to become a member of the Die Hard program. You get access to all the writing. Kyle just finished a great piece talking about the young players, Ricky Council, KJ Martin.
Hey, I'm making call outs right now.
Later.
Eugene Ross. I always hear about, I'm waiting for a sale. I'm waiting for a discount, buddy. The best sale I've ever had, brother. You
in 15 months at the company, this is by far the lowest.
Eugene is already in there, so I'm poking fun. But he was saying,
Aaron says no excuses. A steal at twice the price. Exactly.
Look at that.
So go sign up. Read Kyle's story, Derek's story, all the stuff from the Eagles this weekend with a great win. The Phillies hot stove getting ready to kick off. Charlie writing about the Flyers. Everything, we got you covered. The PHLY Discord that's in there. You get a shirt as well. $36. You got until tomorrow. So spread the word. Tell a friend to tell somebody else to tell somebody else to tell somebody else. $36. You can't beat it. And you get the best writing in the city covering your favorite teams. So please go and tell everybody about it. $36 for 36 hours. It runs through tomorrow. Go take advantage of it. Got underway 8 a.m. this morning. It carries through tomorrow as well. So please go sign up to become a diehard member. And still, our Cyber Monday deal is also going on for the shirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, glasses, everything that you can get on the PHLY locker. Go take advantage of all the great things that we're doing there on our site. And should be good. Hopefully we get a lot of people sign up to become diehard members at $36. $36.
Would be great.
I am a diehard.
We're all diehards over here, people.
Yeah, not all in the Discord.
Just the Discord. That's it. Just the Discord.
Listen,
I might peek in there every now and again.
Been very cool, especially like the last few months as we're past the year mark, right, for the company, and seeing more and more of the people who hang out with us in this chat join the Discord chat and talk about the articles, talk about the team. It's been it's a very lively place every single day. Sometimes that's great. Other times it's a little more thorny, and we yell it out, we chat it out amongst each other, including each other within the company. But it's
mostly Kyle and I yelling at Vince is like 50% of the Discord, which is why we want all of you to join so we can have other conversations.
Exactly.
Now I get to see that live and in person, so I don't need to go to the Discord for that part. I get to see the guys yell at Vince face to face, so I don't have to worry about the Discord part for that. But you guys, make sure you're in there. $36. Can't beat that deal. Cannot. All right, Kyle, what's the rotations? What are they going to start to look like now that Drummond is out? So we figure Yabusele will get the start at the 5 against Charlotte tomorrow on Tuesday night as they take on the Hornets. The Hornets without LaMelo Ball. Grant Williams, he did tear his ACL. He's done for the season. LaMelo Ball out for a few weeks. So as we look at where the Sixers are now, they got a nice boost off the bench, which you wrote about in your piece today. That's, again, on allphly.com for the diehard members. And then you have Dembona, maybe, and looking pretty solid out there as a backup. Does he get some minutes? If you had to sit here today and kind of forecast what this might look like, how would you like to see the rotation for at least starting tomorrow?
I mean, I don't think it's going to look a whole lot different than it has, or at least than it did in Detroit on Monday night. Today's Monday. On Saturday night, right? Where Bona is going to get, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes. I think if I had to guess, he'll probably go back to that same group we saw to start the second half with KJ playing some power forward minutes. I think Nurse said after the game that he likes how they look when they've been bigger. And I think that initially it sounded like his logic was not that Kelly Oubre was playing over McCain, but that Yabusele was. That was what I interpreted from what he told reporters in Detroit after Saturday's game. So my expectation would be he wants to put another bigger person / player next to Yabu in the front court, hopefully give him a chance to defend and rebound on that end of the floor. And look, I made the case today, and I'm far from the only person making this case, but I think when you look at what Ricky Council and KJ have brought to the table, I think it just becomes very obvious that when they put more size and more athleticism on the floor, they just look better, right? Like even the Houston game that they lost, Ricky came in and he immediately makes an impact on the game. KJ comes into these games, and I have had plenty of things to say about his unwillingness to shoot threes this year. But when you look at putting him on the floor and the places he's going to be defensively and compare it to when like Kyle Lowry was the low man on these possessions for a lot of the season, it's just a night and day difference, right? He can make that rotation, get to the rim, contest the shot and, sometimes even rebound the same shot that he contested as well. I just think there is a massive, massive gap between when you put the young guys and the athletes on the floor and when you're asking Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry to play pretty significant minutes. So I would expect both of those guys to play again. Nurse indicated that the older vets have had their opportunity to play and everybody's got to earn their minutes. And yeah, then the other decision is basically just how much do you use Bona, right? Because I don't think you're going to play 48 minutes of Gershon at the 5 and KJ at the 5, right? You do need to use Bona in some capacity. How much you can use him is dependent on how much pressure can Charlotte put on him to play and defend in space. And I think he'll be fine against them because with LaMelo out and their lack of size, that's not that big a deal. The 2 games against Orlando, that's a bigger challenge, right? Where you're going to have to deal with a Franz Wagner. You're going to have to deal with even drives from, Suggs and KCP and people like that. And so that's where Bona's minutes will be. I'll be observing a lot more closely. But I think, early returns were very good in that Detroit game. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble, I think everything else looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think you really have to give Bona a chance here. And it might not be for like full backup minutes. Let's say Gershon plays 25 minutes at center and 10 at power forward. You might only play Bona 10 minutes here, depending on the lineup and who they're going against, or just see whether or not he has it that night. But to Kyle's point, you just cannot give up on rim protection for an entire 48 minutes. You are going to need to get something to protect the paint. And with the way he played, look, I think a lot of times fans can get a little bit too on coaches, especially coaches who are trying to win right now, about playing young players. It is not realistic for where was Bona drafted? Like 40, mid to late 40s, somewhere like that?
It might be 40 exactly, but I have to double check that.
It is not realistic to expect a, kid, second round pick drafted in the 40s to come in and be able to play playoff basketball. It's just not. And he has a relatively simple role in the fact that he sets screens, he rolls to the rim, and he rebounds, and he protects the paint. But that protecting the paint comes with a lot of recognition. It comes with a lot of communication. It comes with being able to not only know your role, but to be able to, communicate what's going on behind everyone else out on the court. It really is, you're a linchpin of the defense. There's a lot that comes along with that. But where I do go, all right, well, you've got to at least try the young kids, is when everybody else can't. That is why I was a proponent of B-Ball Paul over DeAndre Jordan a couple years ago, because we knew DeAndre could not, and eventually then Trez could not as well. Then at that point, you just have to try. And with so many of the Sixers veterans, the ones who you trust in their decision-making are so far done physically that you don't trust them to be able to actually execute. And the ones who do have, are veterans and have a little bit of athleticism left, you don't trust their decision-making. So if you're going to have someone who you're not going to trust their decision-making anyway, at least let it be the young kid with fresh legs who's hungry and going to give you effort. At the very least, give me effort. And even when Drummond comes back, I am less convinced that he is a playoff solution than I have ever been. And I'm not saying that Bona is either. But at the very least, let's give him a couple of minutes just to see. You might be surprised and get something you weren't expecting. Probably not, because that's the nature of young kids. But at the very least, you've got to try, because I think it's becoming clear and more clear that you're just not going to be able to trust Andre Drummond if, and obviously that's a big if they do qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah, and look, I just think, but the trio of those guys, Ricky, KJ, and Bona, they all bring two things. They're all great athletes, and they all compete hard as hell, right? And right now, when you're 4-14, you don't have Joel Embiid. Paul George has been in and out of the lineup. One of the things I keep hammering is like you run a real risk of the season goes off the rails, not because of the injuries, but because eventually some of these guys are just going to punt the season, right? Like they're going to look at this as, this is not my problem. I was brought here to play with Joel, Tyrese, and PG, and I don't want to be the fall guy or the person getting all the heat while these guys are out of the lineup and not doing their jobs. Well, guys like Adem, Ricky, and KJ maybe to a lesser extent, but those are guys that they don't have the luxury to just be like, oh, well, you know, throw the towel in on this season, right? Like Ricky has to come in and prove I'm a real NBA player. I'm a guy who deserves a role, not just this season, not just on this team, but long term. Adem has to come in and say, no, I was pick 41 and I'm coming in here with a ton to prove. I have to show people I can do things that I frankly was not very good at UCLA. And they come in with a real hunger. And those guys, it's some of that is the situation, but some of that is also, that's been the book on these guys for their careers, right? Is maybe they don't do a lot of things well. Maybe there are some skill issues or fit issues that they've had in different lineups, but they don't, the guys who are supposed to be the shooters, the guys who are supposed to be the skill players for this team have sucked. So if they're going to, if Eric Gordon can't shoot, if Kyle Lowry can't shoot, what is the case to play those
They're
guys?
not shooting. They can't move, and their decision-making sucks. Try something else.
It makes it very easy to just look at somebody like Ricky or like KJ or like Adem compared to Andre and say, that guy is just going to play harder, right? And you're going to live with mistakes. You're going to live with, in Adem's case, right, there will be a game where he probably commits 2 or 3 fouls in 5 minutes and gets sent right back to the bench because he's in foul trouble. But you have to live through those mistakes because, one, they give you something that the older guys cannot. And two, more importantly, they can be developed into something more, right? Like you already know at age 38 with Kyle Lowry, age 36 with Eric Gordon, was it 31-ish for Andre Drummond? Those guys are who they are. Maybe they shoot better and maybe they have some bounce back stretches, but ultimately there's a ceiling on who those guys can be. And I'm not sitting here saying you give Ricky Council minutes and he turns into like Kawhi Leonard or whoever, but there's at least something you gain in the long term while also getting something a little bit better in the short term than they've gotten from these other guys.
They are, and this is pretty amazing. They're second in the league in forcing turnovers. Great. I like that. They are 24th in the league in the percentage of live ball defensive rebounds that they generate a transition point off of. And they're 22nd in the league in the percentage of steals they generate a transition opportunity out of. They might get transition opportunities, but they are very, very epically bad at converting them. Put the guy in Ricky in the game who runs hard as hell and really tries to score in transition and drive everything. It might be chaotic, both good and bad. He is chaotic neutral, chaotic, like he is all the chaos. Sometimes that's going to drive you nuts, but at least you have a chance of something happening.
Just like when he was in the game the other day, and midway through, he had already started playing well, and we're looking up, and you're like, see, yep, there he is, grabbing that rebound, 2 hands, or he's above everyone else with 1 hand, grabbing that rebound because he just got off the floor so quickly to secure that rebound. And that has been a part of the problem, as we know, that too many loose balls are there, and nobody from the Sixers typically comes away with that basketball. And Kyle, you also mentioned what Nurse is doing with these young players, but also him mentioning after that Clippers loss of how he's given the veterans every opportunity to grab a hold of whatever spot it is that is available. And now that they have not taken it and run with it, that leaves open an opportunity for these young players, Ricky and KJ Martin in particular, to go out there and take advantage of those opportunities. And maybe that is now also the case for Bona from time to time, because of now with Drummond out, it forces him to, yes, maybe go KJ Martin some, but also to give Bona those few minutes. And then he might have an answer there as well of, hey, I can throw this guy in there for 5 minutes. He may pick up those 3 fouls, but he's going to give me probably 5 boards in those 5 minutes too, or a block shot, or steal, or a good rotation like we saw, or also being in the dunker spot where a driving Paul George drops the ball off right into his hands. He catches it, goes up and finish. And there's some positive things to build off of for that particular young player. So a lot of good things there from those young players. We'll continue to talk about them on the other side as we get ready for the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday in Charlotte without both Andre Drummond, Joel Embiid, of course, And we'll see about Paul George's availability tomorrow. It should be good to go. We'll see what it all looks like. We'll talk about that and much more when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365.
All right, guys, we want to tell you about Rite Aid, specifically about a vaccine for pneumonia. Help protect yourself from pneumonia. Adults aged 50 and older are now eligible for the vaccine. It was previously 65 and over, but the CDC lowered the age recommendations to 50 plus. Millions of people get pneumonia every year, according to the CDC. It's a respiratory illness, and fall and winter are a time when germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread more in the community. So now is the time to get vaccinated and help yourself stay healthy. Some people who get pneumonia have just mild symptoms, but others experience serious complications. The vaccine is one of the best ways to help keep yourself healthy, and it's usually done at no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. Unsure of what vaccines you may need? Just ask your pharmacist for a personal recommendation. Stop by your local Rite Aid today.
And everybody, you know what time it is. It's always time around here to choose chill. The Sixers give you many more opportunities than not even just the other teams in Philadelphia, than most things in Philadelphia to get worked up, to get upset, to say, I can't believe this is happening again, right? But there's always a better way, and a chiller way. You can always choose chill and then reach for an ice cold Coors Light. And with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice cold beer because the mountains turn blue on the bottles and cans as they hit that perfect temperature. Guys, we all deal with our trials and tribulations in life, including my dog Louie, who you guys saw earlier in the show on the camera. He has not been able to decide if he wants to be in the office with me or out of the office, running around, barking his head off at birds and squirrels and things going by. And I got to say, as we're recording a podcast and you want a little bit of silence, it's easy to be like, can you shut the heck up and get a little mad at my dog? But then I always say, you know what? I got to choose chill and rise above it all. And then enjoy a cold layered, cold filtered, cold packaged Coors Light with a smooth finish and get some mountain cold refreshment, even when it is cold in these winter months here in Philadelphia. So when you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. A lot of choose and chill on Sunday, too, with the Birds picking up that great win over the Baltimore Ravens. Just like we expected, fellas.
That first half, I might have been choosing chill, but for a different reason.
It was somebody posted one of those memes. You know, it's like the utopian futuristic society, and it's like Philadelphia if the Eagles were any good in the first quarter of football games. And it's so true, right? Like they have been dominant in second through fourth quarters. I would really say second half, but definitely after the first quarter. Like that defensive performance on Sunday was unbelievable. The fact that they scored that fake touchdown at the end, Baltimore, concerns me very little at all. Just like watching. I mean, I grew up watching one of the first corners I watched was Eric Allen, but then like Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, and those guys. You have Brian Dawkins back in the secondary. And there was so long when they just had no real guys on the back end. And I get it, right? You invest in the trenches. That's the strategy that this organization has largely succeeded with. But after like a decade straight of fans being like, draft some damn corners, and they draft two guys who have immediately stepped in and made an impact, just feels so validating for all the times I would scream at the TV, like, get a real quarterback, Howie. Feels good. Feels good. And obviously that's taking nothing away from the defensive line because Jalen Carter is just destroying guys. And Milton Williams is getting through despite the fact that they're trying to rip his jersey off with these holds that are going uncalled. Like unbelievable job they're doing on the defensive side right now.
Yeah, Vic Fangio did a nice job. Those two corners, really, really good, man. I wasn't sure if they made the right corner choice with I just wasn't with Mitchell, and Man, he is unbelievable the way he's playing. And Cooper DeJean, who knew that he would step in, and that's when it turned around too, Kyle, when Vic Fangio decided to take Avonte Maddox out of that lineup and put Cooper DeJean in there. Things changed, and now they're on an 8-game winning streak and looking pretty good right now as they fight for that top seed. So choose and chill because of how good they are.
Devon, to that point, I mean, we're not comparing the Sixers young guys to Cooper, right? Because his pedigree was what it was coming into the year. We all knew he had produced at a high level in a, good football school, good football conference, but there were questions about him, right? And the guys in front of him had some pedigree and some history, and the Eagles coaching staff rightly decided, we're going to live with whatever ups and downs there are. We're going to play him coming out of the bye. Now, thankfully, there have been very few downs. It's been like all up, but that's kind of the mentality you have to have, right? You have to identify, look, we're just not getting enough out of veteran guys. We might as well take a chance on some young guys that have a chance to turn into something. The Eagles are benefiting from that greatly. And I'm not saying that any of these guys will come close to that level of impact, getting a regular rotation role, but the little things add up, right? So I think that's a good snapshot of why I continue to advocate, why we all continue to advocate for a bit of a youth movement here for the Sixers.
In the same scenario, too, where you're talking about two playoff teams that you feel for sure going into the season that these are two playoff teams, both the Eagles and the Sixers. And in this case, both contenders, but how much of a contender are they? And even you don't have an answer when you put the young guys in there to see how they respond to being out there with those other veterans in these big games, in these big spots. And while the Sixers have gotten off to this slow start, we try not to look at how many games back they are because of the hole that they're currently in. But what if you put these young guys in there and you start to see some immediate returns on the work that they're giving you right away to help you change the complexion of your season overall because of the plays that they're making, because of those small things. I mean, the thing that's going viral, of course, from yesterday's game is the tackle that Cooper DeJean made on Derrick Henry. But what is that in today's game? Getting a defensive stop for Ricky Council or KJ Martin getting a block, or that securing that fundamental rebound.
Dembona's block the other day.
In traffic, you just don't know what that could be that could help change again and put things on the right path for this 76ers team. And we've talked so much about Nurse and even Rivers in the past of not wanting to play young players, but in this spot with the injuries that they have and that infusion of young talent, that athleticism that they sorely miss because the old guys are just the old guys at this point. They don't have it like they used to. That's why you call for these young players to see if they can provide some sort of spark, some sort of energy. Hell, we were calling for it last season when Ricky started to play well from time to time, but he wouldn't get into the game for 2 or 3 straight games. And we're like, where's Ricky? So he can at least run up and down the floor with his head like a guy, just like a maniac out there, and do some good things that turn out for the Sixers, maybe picking up a win. And we saw it against Washington that we always highlight, and in that double overtime game against the San Antonio Spurs. And he had more than just those two, but those are 2 memorable games with some memorable plays that helped them secure victories that they needed.
Yeah, and building off of that, so Philly Girl in the chat said, you don't know if you don't play them. Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? You just, especially we talked about depth all summer. You have to actually try to use the depth, right? And I do think 18 games into the season, it's not like Nick waited until, hey, it's the All-Star break. Hey, it's the trade deadline. I'm finally going to give these guys a chance. And I don't want to kill him too much especially when you see Jared McCain elevated to a starter's role in a very short amount of time. And on the other side of it, Ricky, frankly, was not very good in limited minutes, right? Like, he was pretty transparent, and I wrote about it in the article today at allphly.com. He was transparent about, I was coming in and playing like a robot. He used those exact words. He said, I was so insistent on trying to prove that I had improved the shot that the things I actually did to get and build trust from the coaching staff last year, hitting the offensive glass, playing, Devon, as you're saying, like a maniac. I think I've used the term like a bulldozer, right? Like, he just goes out there and he is running through people. He's playing with that that jumbo running back type of style where he's up the floor in transition and he's just like, get the hell out of my way type of mentality. That was not in his game for a little bit. It was passive. It was uncertain. It was trying to, and I'm not saying he should play outside the context of the offense, right? You want him to do the things we talked about last week, make the little drop-off passes in transition, make the quick extra pass when it's there, but also show the confidence in yourself and your skill set to say, I'm going to go to the rim hard, right? I'm going to go up for offensive rebounds and making your energy and your athleticism felt. And to draw this back to another team they played recently, the Houston Rockets have been one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league, while also being a great transition defense. And I think those things can be connected, right? Like if you have guys like Atari Eason or Amen Thompson who come in off the bench and they're these live wire athletes that are going to the rim, that are creating extra possessions through their effort, other teams can't release against you, right? They have to hang back and play conservatively on the defensive glass because they know these guys are coming. When it's Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, and Jared McCain are the three guys on the floor together, you don't need to drop anybody back toward the rim. You leave maybe one guy and maybe a second guy. The other three guys can go, and so you can hit these passes over the top. You can run the wings in transition, and before you're ready to get back, they're already putting the ball in your basket. So that ability to just have athletes that put pressure on the rim, whether through drives, through offensive rebounding, whatever it is, that can make your transition defense better as well. And that's been a sore spot for this team all year that I'm hoping that they can begin to get better at that as the season wears on.
Yeah, I agree.
I was going to say, don't all step up at once.
Yeah, I thought Derek was going to jump in there just to throw something about the young guys. But no, man, I mean, look, go out there and just play hard. And we, as we said at the time, when Ricky Council wasn't playing well at the start of the season, as much as we've talked about him, and I can't say that many people in the city have talked more about Ricky than we have. First, it just started out as a fun thing, and then he started playing and doing some things to help them win. We called him out for not playing as well as he was a season ago, not playing like that. You know, you said it, just putting his head down, run like a big running back through things and let the chips fall where they may. And robots can run through things, but again, it is robotic and it's not looking like himself. He looked like himself in that game. And it was good to see because they needed it. And I was just looking at to a point that, you know, some of the people are making in the chat about the young players playing. Yeah, and you mentioned Winona saying, a Philly girl, you don't know unless you throw them out there. We know what they looked like a season ago. We know what they look like in training camp or also maybe in the preseason, but in the regular season games when it counted, we haven't seen much of them. Even when KJ Martin would play well, we were like, man, we haven't seen KJ for 3 games. What's going on with KJ Martin? And Ricky Council, you haven't seen him for 7 games, unless there's a blowout, which we have seen a lot of. But it really didn't matter much. So to see them come in, step into a spot against a Detroit team and who beat them the first time around, and it didn't matter that they were on the second night of a back-to-back, like we said during the post game. That's their problem. The Sixers have their own problems that they need to just get wins, and those young players help them get wins. So if they can continue to do that, at some point, they're going to slow down. They're going to make some mistakes, and he'll eventually go back to his veterans for a couple of games, and we'll see how he all starts to balance that out in general when that happens. But for right now, for what they're doing, you need to see them in the immediate and see them help out and try to pick up some W's as they desperately need at 4-14 at this time. With a 4-game work week this week with Charlotte on Tuesday, front end of a back-to-back with the Orlando Magic on Wednesday, and then the Magic on Friday as they take on Orlando at home Wednesday and Friday as part of a 2-game series in Philadelphia. And then we got the all too important Sunday afternoon 1:00 game against the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. And of course, that's while the Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Carolina Panthers. So a busy week for the 76ers this week. And again, a lot to look forward to from the All PHLY team, especially our Sixers team. You make sure, if you can, go read Kyle's piece about Ricky Council IV, KJ Martin in particular, but also some things about Adembona and the young players in general getting out there on the floor. Read that at allphly.com. Sign up to become a diehard member. Yes, we see it, Freddie. Go get him, Rick, to take a step forward in general. Yeah. But no, go read
insane.
allphly.com. Those threes are nuts, but hey, he made a couple against Detroit.
It's great. Make a 24-footer, Rick. That's your challenge.
Not the 32-footer. You don't like that one?
Especially when it's completely unnecessary. There's nobody at anyway.
I know. Kyle's story that is up on allphly.com about the young players. Derek has some things getting ready for allphly.com as well. Read all the stories from the Eagles side of things after another big win, 10-2 on the season, from Zach, Bo, Fran, Les Bowen as well. And the Phillies and the Flyers also. Go read the stories, the pieces that are written up at allphly.com. Take advantage of the $36 in 36 hours. That's the price point for you right now for 36 hours running through tomorrow to sign up and become a diehard member. If you have not done so, take advantage of that fantastic deal for our Cyber Monday deal. Do that right now. It's running through Tuesday. You don't want to miss this one because you're going to be ticked off and saying, how come no one told me? Well, we told you. We're telling you. We've tweeted it out. It's all over the place. Go sign up. $36, 36 hours.
I better see some of y'all on the Discord, man. I'm saying that's the.
And if you sign up, maybe Devon will join Discord too. No promises. Maybe.
Derek and I will be there. I can promise you that. We are committed. Devon, once it comes to technology, we say, not expecting much, brother.
Pretty much. I'm like, hey, Doc, Kyle, Derek, can you guys show me how to do this right here on the computer? Black Friday sale also, the store.allcitynetwork.com, or you can just simply go to allphly.com, check the merch section right there, the drop-down box, hit Philly on there, and you go through the Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, and Union, and all the teams, PSU, all the stuff that you need.
Got some new drops too over this weekend, I'm pretty sure.
Got some new stuff on the site. So go take a peek, see what's there, and you get up to 75% off on the site. Definitely 30% off site-wide, but up to 75% off on certain items on the website. So we got you covered for not only Black Friday, which passed, but it's been running through the weekend. We got you on Cyber Monday, and especially with the $36 sign up.
Martian said Devon is ramping up to be in the Discord.
That's great, Martian. Yes, I am. I'm ramping up, man. Ramping up into the new year.
He's currently in left Discord injury management, but he is ramping up to being in
for personal reasons as well.
Yes.
Will I be back before Joel Embiid? We'll see. Stay tuned.
Joel's not playing on Tuesday against the Hornets. So
we somehow got 58 minutes into the show, and that guy was not part of it. And I am going to choose to keep it that way.
Exactly. All right, let's get to our roll call, folks, on this Monday as we start the week off. Who do we have?
All right, we got. Thank you to everybody, but special thanks to K Red, to AA Ron, to Jess with a blue heart. She's blowing my mind with the change to the emoji. That? Thank you to Philly Girl. Is that real Winona? Fake Winona?
That's Winona. Yeah.
Oh, we have an imposter. That's my girl Winona. Either way, thank you for hanging out. We got Darkness in the building. We got Money Mar, Martian Lynch, Hedva hanging out. Colby Colbs. Valhos, Mary Overfield. What up?
Mary's in there.
Every one of you. Joaquin hanging out with us today. Malk C10. Freddie Powell. Maury's Yams are back. Did they ever leave? That's a question for somebody else. Brian Knight hanging out with us in the chat today. Who else is here? Devon Givens and Derek Bodner. Who the heck are those guys? Ladies and germs. I don't know. Thank you to everybody. Shout out to Roku, Samsung, Xfinity, all of our wonderful partners. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for notifications when we go live. and hit the thumbs up to say thank you to Tyler for stepping in to produce today.
Yes.
We'll be back for pregame and postgame tomorrow against Charlotte. Goodbye, good night, good luck. Go hit up the Cyber Monday sale.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.